In this video, I am going to cover how to change out a slab door, and when you run into trouble, if it doesn't close nicely, how to fix it. Stay tuned. You're going to like this video. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. Let's get into it. So I'm at my second home here. I've got to stop and get doors for today's client. Got to change out a faucet, change out a couple doors and paint them, and fix a shower faucet that's dripping. So we'll grab the materials that we need here. It's April 12th, 2021. So I have really nice Sawhorses, but these plastic ones, they're so lightweight and they hold up doors and even heavier items. Even you can put your miter saw, table saw, anything on them. I use these a lot because they're light and I can just throw them in the truck. I don't keep them in there. I keep my good high quality ones in there, but I'm gonna sit that down there. Go back and get our door. Door is 28 by 76, I believe. So we have to cut 2 inches off the 78-inch door. These hollow core doors have a wooden piece in the bottom. The whole door's got cardboard strips in it on the interior, and the bottom has a wooden piece, which I'll show you here. You see it here. See, not this part, but from here over. This is a piece of solid or cardboard. I won't even call it wood. And if you cut off too much, this piece will be missing and you'll have a hole through the bottom of your door. So then you got to take this piece and peel the skin off of it and get these end pieces off, and you got to put it back into the door and glue it and clamp it so that the door is shorter with the same piece in there. You leave it hollow, it's going to fall apart on you. So we've got 3 of these. We had to go to 2 different Home Depots to get them because Home Depot says there's 8 in stock, and what they mean by 8 is they mean somebody ate them. So we went to the one that had 28 in stock, and there was 11 there, and we bought these 3. This is our outlet.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. I saw that.
There's no other outlets down here, huh? Because that's not even a grounded outlet. There is over here. I'm gonna plug it in over here. I don't know what that orange cord goes to. I know this goes to the washer though, so we'll take that one out. And we'll use that. You got to make sure that you line up these doors perfectly with one another. So just drag it to the ends. Make sure all the ends are lined up. I'm lining it up with the top of the door, and I'm going to cut 2 inches off the bottom. I don't think I'm going to cut. See how there's a hole there? This is cardboard. All you do is push it in out of the way. Get it out of the way. And then you got to tear this apart and get that piece out of there. And that may not always be the easiest thing to do. You have to use screwdrivers and whatnot, pop it apart. Remember when you were a kid and you used to put glue on your hand and then let it dry and you'd peel it off so it looks like your skin was coming off? Yeah. No, I got wood glue over my hands. Brought me all the way back to kindergarten. So, the good thing about hollow core doors is when you buy one, if you're learning how to do it, if you mess it up, it's $35. But you want to get good with a hollow core before you ever do solid core. What I did here was I took my new hollow core door and I stuck it on the bottom. I took the old one and I placed it on top of it. I made sure the ends are nice and even and that everything's lined up. The top, the bottom's lined up. If you have a slight difference, like I'm talking like maybe like a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch, you can split it between the two and it's usually okay. But you want to make sure the sides are lined up well. So run your fingers and feel it, make sure nothing's crooked, make sure it's all pretty even, okay? You also want to make sure that this door is oriented on top of the door the same way that that door is going to be. You wouldn't want this facing the other way and put the doorknob on the left side because then your hinges are going to be facing the wrong way. So once you put the door here, you leave it here until you're done marking everything. Okay, so the door's sitting on top of here. And the first thing you can do is you can draw a circle inside of there so you know exactly where that doorknob's going to go. That's the only one that you need. You don't need to mark the side. You just need to know where that is. And then I use a combination square. And what I do is I just set it on here, on the old door, lined up at where the edge of that hinge is. Right there, and I make a mark, and I do the same on this side. Somebody really wants to get my attention. Okay, I'm going to do that to both hinges. Sometimes it helps to put your pencil in there so you have a clue where it goes. Now, the thickness of the doors, if they're the same, then you can go like this and get the depth of the hinge. Okay? If they're not the same, and the way you can tell if they're the same is you just bring this down and you tighten it. And you look, they're the same. So where they're the same, you just get the height of this here and you transfer it. If they're different, whatever this thickness is or whatever this depth is, you want this piece that's left to be the same on the new door. So if this hinge was set way out and this piece of wood that wasn't taken away was way up here, you would want that thickness down here at the bottom. But these doors are both the same thickness, so we're just going to go like this. So we go to the bottom of the hinge. All right. It's imperative you got all your lines for your hinges. If you have 3 hinges or 4 hinges, do them all, and you've already marked that. Don't move the door until you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 marks, okay? Or 6 or 7 marks if you have another hinge. Then you move it. And then you can use that gauge to gauge how deep that hinge is going, okay? If you move it prematurely, you may end up not having things lined up.
Look at that, you almost had it perfect.
Yep, and that's how you mark out the door. Now, I'm going to be using, this was all done with chisel. You can tell by looking at it. This mortise was made with a chisel, and I've done it many times, and you've seen me do it. Mm-hmm. But there's also jigs that you can use, and Ryobi, believe it or not, sells the best one. I wish it was metal, but it is the best one I've seen on the market that I've used. We're going to be using that. But before we do it on this door, we're going to do it on this door, and make sure our hinge fits it right, make sure everything's perfect, and once it is, we'll move it to the new door. But we have all of our marks exactly where they need to be. So you look at the hinge. Obviously, they got the same size. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and it's 3-inch screw. I mean a 3-inch hinge. So if you look on here, this says for 3 inch to 3.5 inch to 4 inch, and then 4.5 to 5 inch. So there's 2 different ones of these. And all that means is you stick the bit that came with it in there, and you can adjust the height of how deep it has to go.
Yeah.
And you sit this on here like this. You adjust the height until it touches, bottoms out on that piece. That is now at the proper height to cut the hinge mortise in the door. Now what you have to do, you have to come up here, and this has to be set to the right size hinge. It's set to 4 right now. You just pull it out and bring it over to 3. And then you got to determine whether it's a square hinge or if it has rounded edges. So this has a square hinge, so we're good. If it had rounded edges, this piece of plastic pulls out, and that piece of plastic pulls out, and it turns around and makes these back corners, or these back corners here, rounded. These always face away from you when you're using this. So what you do is you put it on the door, and you open up this little plastic vise. And that's why I wish it was metal, because this should really be metal on here or something. But you open that up, you sit it on here, wherever and you line it up with your lines. Now, we don't have any lines on this door, because we're just testing it, right? So you just tighten it down there. You don't have to be super tight, it just has to be so it doesn't slide around on you. And then all you do, you put your router in that section there, and you turn it on. Now the good news is, it's probably cut exactly perfect. The bad news is it puts rounded corners, because a round bit cannot cut a square corner. Now you'll see when I remove this, the front part of this hinge, let me freeze this for you. You see right where this arrow is pointing, it is not at the same depth as here. And that is because with this jig, as you're tightening that plastic arm that squeezes the door, as you tighten it, it lifts the front of that Ryobi jig up just a little bit. So to prevent this from happening to you, just put downward pressure with your hand on top of the jig as you're tightening it, and you should be fine. And you also don't need to tighten it extremely tight. Line up the lines perfectly so you see the pencil line on both sides. Make sure everything is down. Double check it. Make sure it don't move. Now we're good to go.
You know what you can do? Don't take this off. Put the chisel right in there.
Oh, that's a good idea. Let me have it. Look at her teaching the teacher. That's a really good idea. Look at that. That worked like a charm. Look at this. Look. It's like, boom. It's out of there. You want to make sure that you orient your doors the same, so you, in your head, you can reference things. And you want, obviously your hinges close one way and not the other way. So the way that they close is how they're going to go on your door. So you put it this way, it's closed. You open it and you put it in and put the screws in it. If it has a pin that's removable, you want the pin facing up. So our door over here, the top of the door is away from me. The pin on this one is to the right. So you'd want to turn it so the pin is facing up, and that's how it'll go on your door, just like that. This Ryobi tool comes with a bit to center the screw hole. Let's look at that.
Okay.
So this comes with it, or you can buy these separate. It's a center finding drill bit. This part moves, it's spring loaded. This is the size of the beveled edge of that. So you put it up to it. When you drill through, it's in the center every time. Okay, so we're just going to set that in place where we want it. Right in there like so. And we're going to put that up there and drill a hole. And now they're all dead center. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but maybe you're new to the channel. This here is called a gyroscopic screwdriver. It tightens and loosens based on the direction you twist it. And the further you twist it, the faster it goes. So it's very convenient, especially when you're trying to put like the blades on a ceiling fan. You're holding the blade, you got the screw on here. You could literally just put it up there and tighten it. If it starts cross-threading, you can back it off a little bit and then it'll reseat, and then you can tighten it down. Very handy tool. Runs for about 70 bucks, and it's Kitana's favorite tool in the tool bag, actually. There you go. Now we've got to cut the doorknob. So the way this works is you just loosen it, and this opens up, and it just fits on the door. You can set this for either offset, which is like 2 3/4, or what is that, 2 1/8, 2 3/8, 2 3/8, or 2 3/4. And you just set it to whichever one lines up with that hole. What I'm going to do is slide this on here like this. And you see how that's lined up with the hole. If I had this here, it would not be lined up with the hole. So we want it on that setting. And granted, there's a little bit of room for error with these. So when they put this last doorknob in to the other door, they might have been 1/8 of an inch off. It doesn't make that much of a difference. You can be off a hair, but we want it to be as close as possible. So we line up all the little lines on both sides, and then we tighten it down. You always want to make sure this is flush right here and right here. Double check everything. Make sure it's all lined up. Make sure that's flush. I made a mistake once, and this thing wasn't loosened enough, and when I went to put it on the door, that was off just like, I don't know, 3/16 of an inch, but it made it so the doorknob wouldn't line up. You can't be off that much. You can be off like 1/8, but make sure it all lines up there. And then all you're going to do is drill down until you feel the drill bit come out the other side, and then you'll drill it from the other side, and that'll prevent tear out. Make a nice clean hole. After you get that hole, you'll come in the side with this one. So I have these 2 little pins that are retractable. Oh, Amber alert. It's funny because I was just thinking I couldn't find Kitana when I walked out to the van. I was like, what would I do if somebody kidnapped her? Not that she'd be easy to kidnap, but what would I do? And then this Amber alert came out. That's really weird. It just doesn't load and show you anything. So what good is an Amber alert you can't read? I was able to get me a signal to tell me there was an Amber alert, but not enough to tell me what we're looking for. Crazy. Anyway, you pull this back and you tighten it on there. And you don't have to reef it on tight. Just tight and turn it until it locks in. You don't want a big space between here. This piece of plastic is to set the depth. It sits in there. About 3 3/8 of an inch thick. So this can move. So towards me is where I want it. So I'm just going to keep my finger on there until I get this started. All right, this goes against what I believe in, but look in the hole. There's no structure in there at all. That's because there's no blocking that high up on a door for a doorknob. All the extra structure that's put in a door is put right over here so that you can drill through something that has some substance to it. Okay, so I can only do what the customer wants me to do. The doors in this room, the handles are at different heights, and they're a lot higher than standard handles. I mean, these things are like 4 feet off the floor. I could have easily moved the handle set down to where the structure is in the door, and then I would have modified the jamb so that the striker plate was moved down as well. Client wanted this all done in like a 4-hour window. I had no choice. This is what she wanted. This is what she got. Sometimes you just got to make the customer happy, even if it's not exactly what you would want in your home. Okay, just like so. All right, now you can get the doorknob on it. Get this out of here. Watch your face. Here is another pro tip. It definitely saves time. When you drill that hole, if you're going to try to fit this whole piece in there, you got to mortise that out with a chisel and get it to, so this would fit recessed like the hinges. Most doorknobs nowadays come with this insert, this little round insert, and all you do, see where that hole is, and you twist, and you come on this side and put it in that hole, and you twist, and these will come off, leaving you with just that. There's a flat side and a flat side. You put it over it, and that's what you end up with. Now you can stick this into the hole you drilled. It'll fit tight, and when it hooks in here to the handles, it'll never move, it won't twist. It's a nice secure fit, and you ain't got to mortise nothing. So you have, they used to make it so these move. Now you just have 2 separate ones. You have a hole here and you have a hole there. Either one's going to work, but we want to put it through the 2 3/8 one when we put it together. So you face that the right direction, you stick it in there, and push it in. No mortising required. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Sit your end down. I know what you're thinking. Wow, that doorknob's awfully high up on that door. I did bring this to the attention of the homeowner before cutting the new door in, and she said where she's used to it being that high, she'd rather I just make the new door the same. Now, there's another door to the left of that mirror that we also replaced, and its doorknob's at a more traditional height. I myself, I would prefer to have the doorknobs on 2 opposing doors match, but you know what? It's not my house, and I have to do what the client wants. All right, let me explain this to you here. The door has 2 problems. The striker side, which is the little pin that goes into the hole that keeps it shut, that is hitting on the door, the striker side. So it's not allowing the door to get close into the hole. It's also hitting against the privacy trim, or some people call it the door stop, which is the 3 pieces of wood that run around the jambs, the head jamb and the 2 side jambs. So when the door's closed, you can't peek through the cracks because that wood trim is around it. That's called the door stop, or privacy trim. It's also hitting on that and pinching on it on the hinge side. So to solve the problem of it hitting on the striker side, you'll see me here cutting 1/8 of an inch off of the hinge side. So we remove the hinges. I'm cutting 1/8 of an inch off, and then I have to remortise the hinges and put them back on. But when I remortise them, I'm going to move that back just a little bit so the hinge slides further into the door, taking more meat off the edge of the door where the top of the hinge is. By doing that, it moves the door forward and it allows it to not hit on the privacy trim or the doorstop. So you're going to take more meat off the door, not deeper into the door, but further through the door. So when you cut your hinge, you have this very small area, like right here. You want that to be like cut here. And that will stop it from hitting the door stops, the privacy trim.
There we go.